So this last video is just about examples and how you apply these rules in different scenarios. So the first example is the measure of E. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out what I know for E. Well, here's E right here. And so I don't know the side opposite of E. And so sometimes you have to do a calculation before you can get to your answer. And there's no way to get to E because I don't know this side. So I'm going to have to work this way. If I use 66 and 6 and I use this side, I could find angle F. And if I know angle F and D, I can simply subtract from 180. And so this is a great scenario for law of sines. Now, what about law of cosines? I don't know the side opposite E, and so I'm stuck before I even begin on squaring that side. Again, I don't have enough information. So first step is to find F. So I'm going to say the sine of F over 4.88 is equal to the sine of 66 over 6. And by a little math magic, cross multiply and applying subdivision, I end up with the sine of F is equal to about 0.743. When I apply the inverse with my calculator, I find that angle F is a 47.99 degree angle. Once I know that, then angle E is equal to 180 minus 66. If you want to go ahead and use 48, that's fine. Minus 48 is equal to 66 degrees. Okay, just be really careful with those rounding because you can actually introduce quite a bit of error. Now in this example, when it says solve, you want all three of the missing values. So in this case, it's 3 angles. Sometimes it's 2 angles and a side, 2 sides and an angle, but whatever is missing. So the first step here has to be law of cosines because you need at least one angle in order to use law of sines. So we're going to do law of cosines first, then we can do a law of sines to find the other angle, then we can subtract from 180 to find the third angle. So when you're doing these problems, you're definitely going to want to give yourself enough space to work them all out. So first, and it doesn't matter where you start, you will get the same answers no matter where you start. So I am just going to start with I and angle 6 or side 6 for no reason other than that's just where I'm starting. So this is our law of cosines first. So we have 6 squared is equal to 5 squared plus 4 squared minus 2 times 5 times 4 times the cosine of I. So when I work that out, I end up with 36 is equal to 41 minus 40 cosine of I. Again, very careful to not disobey order of operations. Subtract 41 from both sides. So I have minus 5 is equal to negative 40 cosine of I. Divide both sides by negative 40. So I have 1/8 is equal to the cosine of I. When I go to my calculator and do the inverse, I get angle I is equal to 82.8 degrees. So now I'm going to go to one of my others. Again, it doesn't matter if I do G or H next. I'm just going to grab H. Now, because I know I can switch to a law of sines. So I can say the sine of 82.8 over 6 would be equal to the sine of H over its side, which is 5. Now, could you use the law of cosines again? Yes. Most people would prefer not to do those kinds of calculations again. When you cross multiply, you come out with the sine of H being equal to 0.827. And if you want to pause the video and work those calculations to make sure you can get there, that would be a great strategy. Inverse with your calculator, and I find out that H is equal to 55 0.8 degrees. And so then my third step is to say that angle G, well, that is going to be 180 minus 55.8 minus 82.8. And if you want to do the law of sines again and use the adding up to 180 as a check, that's a perfectly reasonable strategy. And we're going to find out that angle G is equal to 41.4 degrees. Now, solving TUS, I'm missing one angle, two angles, and a side. So again, do not have enough information to do law of sines. I don't know I with side 5, I don't know U with side 7.5, and I don't know the side S. So I have to use law of cosines first. And my law of cosines that I'm going to use first is that. And so my very first step is that S squared is equal to 7.5 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 7.5 times 5 times the cosine of 85. Again, I started and ended with that side and its angles. When I combine terms and do the algebra computations here, I end up with S squared is equal to 81.25 minus 75 cosine 85. This is a point at which you go to your calculator. And I like to start in the back and I say 85 cosine times 75 equals, and then you subtract it, excuse me, from negative plus 81.25, and I find out that S squared is 74.7. But in the sake of not introducing rounding errors, I go back, I say square root, and I find out that S is 8.6. And I try to wait to round until the very, very end. Well, now that I know that that's 8.6, I can skip over and I can use the law of sines, and I can say the sine of 85 over its side that I just found, 8.6, is equal to, and I could grab I or H. Let's just grab I and its side, the sine of I over 5, cross multiply, sine of I is equal to 0.58 about. Use your inverse, angle I is equal to 35.4. And then your last angle, is subtract from 180. Angle U is going to be 180 minus 35.4 minus 85, and that is going to end up being a 59.6 degree angle. So the last three examples will be on the next video.